Hi everyone, welcome to Kroll's weekly threat intelligence briefing for the 20th of January 2026. My name is Ryan Hicks. With me today is Mukesh Nagar, Mark Messer, and Ethan Alfari from the Threat Intel team. So this week we're covering the following topics. Firstly, I'll be covering Microsoft Patch Tuesday for January, then an update to our out of bands that we released last week on FortiSIEM, and then last for me is a new malware framework called VOIDLINK. And then Mukesh will go through KTA 082 QR code phishing, then Mark with KTA 060 developing RUSTYWATER RAT, and then finally Ethan looking at the BreachForums database leak. So plenty to go through this week. So first up, looking at Microsoft Patch Tuesday. So Microsoft fixed 112 vulnerabilities in January's patch cycle with Microsoft Edge releases. There were 57 privilege escalation vulnerabilities, 22 remote code execution, 8 that Microsoft classify as critical, and 1 0-day. That 0-day is on the left side, so CVE 2026-20805 has a CVSS of just 5.5 and affects desktop Windows Manager. It allows an authenticated attacker with low privileges to access sensitive data, hence the kind of lower score for that CVE. And full details of exploitation currently weren't released just yet for Microsoft, so kind of keep an eye out for any full details on that, but included in Microsoft's Patch Tuesday. Next up, looking at an update on the out of bands. So we released the out of bands on January 14th. So a small update on that. The out of band was for CVE 2025 64155, which was a critical vulnerability affecting FortiSIEM. Since we released the out of bands, reports emerged that unknown threat actors have been observed scanning and exploiting this vulnerability against honeypot environments. We mentioned in the out of band that a proof of concept was published publicly upon release of vulnerability, and that's why we assessed at that time that there would likely soon to be scanning and exploitation, which has sort of come to fruition. Since the beginning of 2025, just a note really, a range of threat actors have exploited Fortinet devices as a whole for initial access, including those you see there, KTA 286 Killing or Chilling, KTA 374 Salt Typhoon, and Mora 001 who has ties to Lockbit or KTA 273. So a number of kind of range of actors that have targeted. So unknown who is kind of undertaking the scanning and exploitation of the honeypot environments that kind of was pushed out in reports. It could have been because as a proof of concept, it could be a wide range of individuals or groups. So certainly highly recommended to patch as we mentioned in the out of bands, kind of any affected products before any kind of more widespread exploitation takes place against FortiSIEM. And lastly, just from me, Checkpoint Research released a write-up on the new malware framework it named as VoidLink. VoidLink has a collection of implants, rootkits, and loaders targeting Linux, designed to maintain long-term access. Includes capabilities to run smoothly as well inside cloud infrastructure. It's modular, so it allows for sort of high level of flexibility for the actor, where it's likely been inspired by Cobalt Strike, with over 30 plugins, providing kind of a wide range of features, including credential harvesting, anti-forensics, persistence, reconnaissance, and cloud sandbox escaping. It also includes runtime code encryption for kind of lower detection rates, and it also has self-deletion, all kind of in the name of sort of defense evasion. The authors at Checkpoint note appear to be Chinese speaking, and the malware is actively developed. And they believe that based on documentation and design, it's designed to be more of a commodity offering, so something that would be kind of more malware as a service or purchased by other actors to be used. So certainly something we're kind of keep an eye on in its use. Next up, hand over to Mukesh.
Thank you, Ryan. So since mid-2025, threat actor KTA082, also known as Kimsuky or APT43, have shifted to using QR code phishing, also known in the industry as quishing, as an entry point. Their emails impersonate trusted officials and research partners, but instead of links, they embed QR codes. When users scan them, usually on unmanaged mobile devices, they are taken to a fake Microsoft 365 or Okta or a VPN login page, which is controlled by threat actors. The FBI have issued warnings in January of this year, noting that this technique effectively bypasses traditional email security and most endpoint monitoring systems by initiating authentication from a mobile device. The attackers can capture session tokens, bypass MFA, and slip into environments without triggering standard alerts. Once inside, they use the compromised accounts to send further targeted emails and collect intelligence across organizations. We're also seeing the group broaden its focus, including recent targets of Taiwanese governments and academic sector, which aligns with their long-lasting strategic and intelligence objectives. Now, from a defensive standpoint, there are some actions which can be taken, and that is to treat unexpected QR codes as high risk and attempt to block them at the email gateway. We also look into accelerating deployment of phishing resistance MFA 502 and web authentication backed by conditional access, as well as strengthening user awareness specifically around QR-based social engineering. This shift from KTA082 is a clear reminder that identity is now the primary battleground, and attackers are increasingly designing campaigns to evade the controls we rely on the most. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Krish. Mark.
The attack chain for this begins with spear phishing emails masquerading as cybersecurity guidelines or internal communications. These emails contain malicious Microsoft Word documents, commonly named things like cybersecurity.doc, that prompt victims to enable macros to view the content. The use of compromised legitimate email accounts significantly increases the campaign's success rate by exploiting established trust relationships. CloudSec researchers discovered leaked credentials for these accounts, including addresses from TM-Cell, UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Israeli government entities. When victims enable macros, malicious VBA code executes that extracts a hex-encoded payload from the document. That macro uses native API calls and Windows management instrumentation, aka WMI, to create and execute a script file, certificationkit.ini, which then loads the reflectively decoded RUSTYWATER payload. This is also tracked as Archer Rat and RustRick in some reporting. It's a Rust-based remote access Trojan. This malware supports remote access functionality, including file upload and download operations, command execution, and the ability to sleep as needed. The malware performs several key functions upon execution. First, it conducts system recon, gathering victim machine information, including computer name, domain/work group, Windows version, and username. Installed security software are also enumerated to assess the defensive posture of the compromised host. For persistence, RUSTYWATER establishes registry-based auto-start mechanisms by modifying the Windows registry run keys. This persistence method survives system reboots while generating fairly minimal forensic artifacts on disk. RUSTYWATER establishes command and control communication using the Rust request library, contacting the domain nomercies, nomercys.it.com, which resolves to several different IP addresses that we can also provide. The communication protocol employs multiple layers of obfuscation, including JSON formatting, base64 encoding, and XOR encryption, XOR. The malware's asynchronous runtime, which is built on Rust Tokyo framework, handles command and control communication, file ops, and command execution concurrently across multiple threads without blocking operations. This architecture enables efficient multitasking and reduces the likelihood of detection through behavioral anomalies. The malware supports core remote access Trojan functionality, including file upload and download, command execution, and the ability to update sleep intervals dynamically. Organizations would be urged to implement strict policies for Office macros, disabling them by default and configuring them to allow execution only from digitally signed or explicitly trusted sources. Additionally, deploying and tuning endpoint detection and response solutions with specific detection rules for rusty water indicators, including the creation of registry persistence mechanisms, process injection into explorer.exe, and the execution of Rust compiled binaries from unusual locations. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Mark. Finally, Ethan.
Thanks, Ryan. On January 9th, 2026, a massive database leak exposed around 324,000 members of the cybercrime marketplace BreachForums. The data dump, published on the website shinyhunte.rs, includes usernames, clear text email addresses, registration dates, and Argon 2i password hashes. It also contained a passphrase-protected PGP private key used by forum administrators to sign official communications. Current forum administrators under the alias N/A claim the data originated from an unsecured directory during a site restoration process in August 2025 rather than a new active breach. The leak was accompanied by a theatrical 4,400-word doomsday manifesto from an individual named James, who identified himself as a legendary mentor to groups like Shiny Hunters and Anonymous. James stated he chose to devour his children and expose their real identities, specifically naming several young French nationals after the group allegedly targeted the French nation. While many recorded IP addresses were local loopbacks, over 70,000 records contained public IP addresses, posing a severe risk to user anonymity. Experts note that this exposure provides significant help for law enforcement investigations, as the data can be cross-correlated to identify high-profile operators, effectively undermining the trust essential to the forum's operating model. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ethan. That's all we have for this week. If you do have any questions, please contact us at cti@kroll.com. Thank you, and see you next week.